as always, I will give it a second or a few minutes to see where everyone is, give you all times to comment and show up. So let's give it a minute before we start doing anything major. And you can just sit and look at the lovely Grumblefloof behind me, hanging out on his bed. So I'm just going to wait because I know it takes like a minute or so to let people know that we're live and all that jazz. In the meantime, for those that are watching on the recording, I'm Danielle Beck. Welcome to Control the Meerkat. This is Spock, otherwise known as Mr. Grumblefloof. And we've been doing some training each week for our summer meerkats. For those that don't know, meerkat is an analogy that I came up with, all about helping our dogs our owners learn how to control their dogs. So our meerkat, I want you to pretend, is a creature that lives on our dog's shoulders. And when our dogs get overwhelmed or upset, the meerkat can hijack them and make them reactive or suppress or shut down, all different types of behaviors. We have 3 main meerkats that we've been talking about. We have our calm meerkats that we're going to discuss next week. We have our alert meerkats that we're going to discuss tonight. And we've got our active meerkats, which we spoke about last week. And our active meerkats are our fight, flight, freeze, fool, and fawn. Our alert meerkat is what happens before we get to there. So Spocky behind me, he has an alert meerkat. As you can see, he's still kind of looking around. He can hear stuff going on in the background. We choose Thursday evenings because it's bin day, and he likes to grumble when he hears people putting their bins out. So we might see some live grumbling and controlling of the meerkat here tonight. If you can hear me and see me, just let me know that you can do it. Just give a thumbs up in the chat or a wave or a comment or anything like that. I can see there's some people live, so I just like to check that you can actually hear me. While I have a look, because I'm live on a few different channels. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Hey Dawn, how are you? It's always nice to see people. So when we're helping our dogs to control their meerkat, most of the people I see for like training issues and things, they tend to have alert meerkats that the dogs struggle with, and the dogs go from alert to active really, really quickly. And we want to try and help them to calm down a little bit and learn that they can actually control themselves. So they're not going into that freeze mode so often. They're not going into that kind of lunge barking mode, that they're able to look at something and just breathe. And that's the first step is, can you see the thing? Can you breathe? Can you just pause? Can you eat? Eating in front of something stressful can still be a criteria. Like, can you eat? Fantastic. Can you look away from the thing? Lovely. Can you relax? Maybe not yet. Have we taught our dogs how to relax? Because some of them won't necessarily know how to actually relax and breathe through something. I knew he'd do it. And we use food not so much as a distraction, but as a coping mechanism. It's a reward. It's something to help them understand what's kind of going on and just kind of process things a little bit faster. And food can be a really useful tool, as can beds, like the one behind me that quite often you'll see Spock returning to and hanging out until he knows I've got treats in my hands like now, in which case he sits and stares. Or stands and stares. I mean, that's lovely. So that's his default behavior. So the default behavior is something that it's what do our dogs do when they don't know what else to do? I tend to go for a lie down with my dogs personally, just because it helps to calm them down a lot of the time. It's also a more long-term position where sometimes sit can be a bit uncomfortable for them. So if they don't know what to do, and I may or may not have food, they tend to go, I'm just going to lie down and see how far that gets me. If they're impatient, like Spock here, they might then get up and give me a nudge and let me know they're still there, and then they'll lie back down again. He's laid down just off camera, so I'll just bring him back around onto his bed. That's where I'd like him to be. And the place that you reward is huge for a lot of dogs. So I would very much like Spock to hang around on his bed. So that's where I'm going to feed him. So he's going to get the rewards while being on his bed. So that's going to be most likely the place that he returns to. And mat training is really, really beneficial for a lot of dogs if they're unsure of the environment. So if you've got a dog that is a little bit wary about going outside, if they can get a little bit anxious and just not too sure why they're there or what they're doing, and you want them to just relax, sometimes having a mat that they've had a really good reinforcement history on can help kind of break that down, because they'll see the mat and go, oh, my mat's there, we're doing this. And that can just help to settle them. Building that up with some of the pattern games that we discussed, like up, down, and ping pong, can help kind of get them to calm down a little bit faster. So what I'd like to do today is show you a little bit of a duration exercise called down for the count, and then we'll do a little bit of look at that. So with down for the count, we want to have our dogs on a bed. So it's going to move them away so I can adjust the bed to somewhere where we can see it better. Go there. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see Spock's bed there. I want him down, and we're going to start counting. And when we're doing down the count, we want very kind of quiet, very slow-paced counting. If we're doing it fast, it can sometimes kind of wind them up a little bit. And when we're counting, a lot of times people ask, but if we've done 1, 2, 3 like we did in the last session, are they going to get confused? Not necessarily. Context is a huge thing with this. So the way that I count will be slightly different. Count down for the count is always when you're lying down, ideally on a mat. But if the mat's not there, you can still do it. And it's a slower pace, and we go past 3. So I tend to aim to about 30, but we kind of go up and down. So we'll start counting to like 3 or 4, then maybe 2, maybe see if we can get to 7. What I'm looking for, and I'll see if I can position him so you can see all of him properly. You're not quite seeing his tail. There we go. So what we're looking for is this really calm stationary behavior. What I don't want to see is any shuffling or moving around. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So he struggled a little bit on 5, so I've gone down a bit. 1, 2, 3. Okay, he's shuffled, so we're going to reset him. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. And what you find is at first they'll kind of stay still. 1, 2, 3. Reset him again. 1, 2, 3. So he can hear things, but he's focusing. 2. So we're starting to get that duration. And I'll start counting in my head a little bit so you can still hear me, hopefully. If you have any questions, type them in the chat. And we're looking for just that stationary behavior to begin with. Like, can you give me anything in duration? So if they're shuffling around too much, we just toss the treat out, bring them back, so rewarding the calm behavior. Eventually what you find is they may start to offer you other behaviors, but the tail will start to slow down as they start to really relax with it. If our dogs have learned a deep breath, which we're going to do next week with our calm meerkats, you can start to implement take a deep breath and get them to actually take a really nice deep breath, and that will help calm them down. Because we're just doing that duration. So he doesn't have to give me a chin target, but he's choosing to, which is lovely. We've been practicing this a lot because we went to the vets today. So we did lots of chin rests and patience on things, didn't we? I want to try and get the treat in there before he starts shuffling. I like to do this with dogs that are a little bit nervous, a little bit unsure, because it's something they can do, and then you can start having some distraction going on around you. Sorry, sorry. I moved my hand with a treat in it. Don't do that. Breathe fast. There you go. So we can start to do this and then have distractions going on. Are they able to acknowledge the distractions, but stay on their mat? Can they look at it and look back? So once our dogs have got the habit of being here on the mat, the next thing I want to start to introduce is a little bit of look at that. And look at that is all about a conversation between you and your dog. And it's letting them acknowledge that there's something else going on in the environment. And it's okay if they can keep focusing. So I'm just going to check the chat before we move on to a different exercise. Is counting in a head progression to mix it up or counting out loud? It's up to you. I like to start counting out loud because it helps me and the dogs kind of settle into this is the game that we're playing. I then personally like to change it to in my head because usually I'll be doing something else, or I might just start kind of rocking as I'm doing it, counting up. The context is what kind of sets it up for the dog, so they know, oh, okay, we're doing this down for the count thing, which means I lie down here and I relax a little bit, and Mum's going to give me treats in a random order. It helps when you're teaching it to count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can just start to gradually build them up like that. So I'll give you a reset. Good lad. So when you start to progress, if you want to do it in your head, that's absolutely fine because the motion is still there. But when you're learning, try and say it out loud. If you're unsure about counting, some people will use the alphabet. So if your dog's got a really strong 1, 2, 3, and you're struggling to get past 3, you can change languages. You can say the alphabet. You could sing, to be honest. It's just more that rhythm that our dogs are learning. And it means that you end up with dogs that end up really wanting to just go on the mat and just relax. And then we can start to build on other things and go, okay, can you do this while there's distractions happening? Can you do this while something else is going on around you? And that's where we're going to come to look at that. So look at that. It's another pattern game. And it's all about our dogs looking at something and being marked and rewarded for checking it out. Because what we don't want with our reactive dogs and our ones with alert meerkats is for them to look at something and then us go focus on me and sit there with our food and get them to look at us for the entire time. Just keep feeding. Now, this is a really, really good management strategy. Good boy. But long term, move it into up down so we can play a bit of the game. But long term, that's going to put blinkers on our dogs. Good, free. And our dogs are then going to get focused so much on us and the food that something else is going to go past behind them and then it's going to startle them. So what we want is for our dogs to really be able to look around the environment and acknowledge and process other things that are happening and go, I've noticed there's a thing over there, or I've heard a sound over here. It's okay, I can still play the game. So them looking at something is a way for them to say there's something over there and you go, that's fine, let's do this. So when you start look at that, we're not looking for disengagement from the object, we're looking at the object and then we can reward them. Because our dogs are in a calmer state, that marker word of good, yes, click or whatever it is you're using should make them go, oh, treat. If they can't do that, you're too close to the thing. So you start off with a neutral object. So I have a water bottle here, which means very little to Spock. It's my water bottle. It's around all the time. It has no meaning. I'm going to have him in his lie down. And then I'm going to bring that out from behind me and show it to him. When he looks at it, I'm going to give him his marker word, which is good. And then he's going to get a treat. That's going to go away. I'm going to repeat that. And we should start to see that he'll start to... Am I not being fast enough? It's okay. He's heard something, so live make out of control. We'll go back to down for the count. Good. Good. So what he's going to do is start looking at my water bottle. I'm going to give him good. He'll probably do it a few times and then he'll stop looking at the water bottle because he'll be like, it's a water bottle, I don't care about it. And then that's the point where you go, okay, whatever it is that we've introduced is no longer a problem for them, and they'll start focusing back on you. That's a good thing. You then want to start doing different items. So I have my water bottle, and then I have a helper off to my side that's going to walk on, and you'll only see feet, if that, to acknowledge that there's someone in the room. And what we want Spock is to stay on his mat, to look at, acknowledge that someone walked in the room, but not run towards them, no motion towards them, focus on me. The look at that is all about essentially a promise to your dog that we're not going to go closer to the scary thing. We're going to stay at a distance. We're going to look at it. We might move past it, but we don't have to approach. So we're never approaching things. They never get to engage, touch the items that we're working with. This is our kind of contract almost with our dogs. So we'll start off with our dogs I'll have a handful of food. So they give me a sit or a down position. And I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my water bottle out, and what we should see, hopefully, is Spock will look at it. So, good. So he looks at it, I marked him, he looked away. Good. 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 So you see we're building up that repetition. Good. But the looks will start to get faster until they end up just being a glance, essentially. Good. The next step is then have the thing on display, so we put it over here. Good. Where is it? Where is it? Good. So I then ask him, where is it? Where is it? Where's the bottle? Good. And any movement, interaction towards it. Good. Where's the bottle? And now he's like, there. And you notice that after a while, look at that, they start to stop showing you where the thing is because they're now no longer bothered by the thing. They just want the food. You start to add in where is the thing, so you both know what it is that you're talking about. And they'll start to go, it's over there. So what I find when I use like my where's the dog cue, for example, sometimes he'll look over there, quite often he'll ear twitch. So it's not necessarily about looking visually, it's being aware that there's something around that's interesting. So make sure you're paying attention to subtle eye glances, ear twitches, even nose twitches I'll accept. Just something I go, it's behind me. So this time. So my helper is about to walk in. Good. And then they're going to walk away. And then they're going to walk back. Good. And then they're going to walk away. And I'm going to walk back in. Good. This time I'm going to start putting it on a cue for him. So as they walk in, where's the person? Do I have to say their name?
Probably.
Where are they? Good. We've got some earflicks. I don't want to say their name on the camera.
You can, I don't mind.
Okay. It's Kaylee. Where's Kaylee? Good boy.
There you go.
Where's Kaylee? Yeah, she's a good boy. Where's Kaylee? Good. So that's kind of how we would start to progress and move that through. Great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to our down for the count exercise, which is going to incorporate elements of that, because while we're doing down for the count, I'm going to ask our helper just to start moving up and down, so she's going to be a permanent distraction for him. And what we should find is at first he might start paying attention and then he'll start to relax, in theory. So let's see if we can switch. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Good boy. So we've got a slight raise up, but we can focus again. 1, 2. Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So you can see how he's really trying to control himself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good boy. Thank you, Caleb. Good lad. Well done. So if you can imagine that you're in a park, you're out for a walk with your dog, and you're trying to help them relax. If they've got an alert Meerkat, if they've got an active Meerkat, we need to do our active stuff that we discussed last week. We need to focus more on those more active patterns of maybe up, down, or ping pong, 1, 2, 3 to kind of get them to calm down a little bit. When they're in this sort of state where the alert one's there, where the arousal's a bit high, but it's manageable, they're still able to think. These exercises are great because we can go out, we can sit at a bench, we can put the blanket down and sit on a field. and play these games, just watch the world go by. And every time they're kind of like, there's a person there. Really? Come lie down. And then every time they hear something that bothers them, you have a tool that can help them. So rather than him hearing noises, grumbling, and then going off and chasing it, he's got a way to kind of let me know there's something there so we can start engaging in a game. And these focus exercises, as you can tell, he really enjoys them. But they also helped him to relax. They're predictable for him. So he's like, okay, this is how I want to start the game. And because I'm a terrible trainer, I have backchained him grumbling really strongly. So that's how he now lets me know that he's aware of something he's a bit unsure about. He'll just do that that we hear so much on our lives with him. Which for me, I don't mind, because I think it's adorable and cute. Not everyone will agree, but it gives us something to do, and having that predictability, the element of a little bit of choice and control over what things we do. But it took us a while just to get him to stop chomping. You've seen that a couple of times on the mouse, and bugging me for the food and wanting it all the time, because he struggles a lot with his frustration. So me sat here with food in my hands, talking to him, moving around, it's a huge thing for him. There was a while where he wasn't able to do that. The food had to stay in a pot somewhere else, because otherwise he'd be pouring at it, trying to get his face in there, and would really struggle. I'm just going to give him his free, so he knows that we're free. He can do what he likes now, and chances are he'll hear something so we can play the game again. So cue grumbling at any point. Really? We're not grumbling this time. Oh, okay. That was a little one. That was adorable. So does anyone have any questions about what we discovered, or how they might want to apply it with their dogs? So think of situations where they struggle in, and then see how you can break that down. Do you have friends or family members that can be the distractions for you? Are there things you can put on TV? Think about fireworks coming up. Can you get them to do this sort of relaxation behavior while there are noises on the TV at like a low level? Can you start to turn them up? Could you maybe put fireworks on the background, or drum sounds or something, so we can start this stuff early so they can be aware that these things can happen, but this is what we do. And with our dogs, especially when they're controlling their alert meerkats, if we have a way to build up that predictability for them, so they know this is what I do in this situation, they can really help. So if a grumble at outside noise, what pattern games do you suggest? So if Spock and I are outside and he grumbles at something, I tend to go straight into up, down, or lat with him. So I'll bring him back to me. We'll do some up, down, because he's really good at that. He enjoys it outside. And then I'll pause and I'll wait for him to look or acknowledge or show me what it is that he's grumbling at. So his ear will move, his mouth will move. I can acknowledge it's there, and we'll kind of look at it, have a treat. Look at it, have a treat. And we'll play the lat game until he's like, oh, it doesn't bother me anymore. And then he can build off. So we do a lot of that kind of work where it's led by him and what he does. Whereas with Nuffle, I would, if he was spooked by something and he reacted, which isn't often that he does, but if he does, we would kind of go, okay, take a breath, because he's really good at taking a deep breath. We might do a little bit of look at that, and then I'd ask him for down, and he'd be able to calm down a lot faster than you can. You're doing this for attention now, aren't you? I don't think you can even hear anything right now. So does that help? How do we know when to progress from the active games to more calming ones in specific? Oh, I love that game, Catherine. So have a look at your dog. So if we look at Spock at the minute, he's engaged with me. His eyes are bright. He's looking around, but we can see that he's relaxed. So he's got quite soft mouth. He's got quite a free-flowing tail. So that all lets me know that he's alert, but he's still thinking, which means if I focus on him, I can get him to calm down and breathe. If he was a little bit more on the tense side, so if I leave him and he starts bouncing up a bit, so if I get him to be a bit more active by doing our ping pong game, what I'm looking for is that focus. So if I pause, do we have some focus? Is he able to do something? And if I do wait, can he wait with me? Or is he kind of chomping at my hands to get the food? Is he looking really tense in his face? Is he trying to snatch? So any of those behaviors will let me know that he needs to do a little bit more of the moving around games or his up-down game to just get him calming down a little bit. Once I start to notice him essentially looking like this, so his focus, we can see differences in his tail, and we've got that kind of cheeky element. This is the bit where I can go, okay, now let's look down at our calming games. Now let's see if we can do some strokes or take a breath. I know Bella has practiced take a breath a little bit, so that's the bit where I'm like, can you do it? And just wait them out and see. If they start to raise up, I would increase my rate of reinforcement. So sometimes the best way to help them out is just by the speed you give the treats. So if I give them treats really, really quickly, it meets them when they're kind of at there, and then I can reduce my rate of reinforcement and start to really slow it down. What we should find is his tail will start to slow down a little bit. I tend to use tails as a little bit of a barometer, like an emotional one. That's when I know that they're ready. Then we can start to add the duration a little bit. As you start to increase the duration, just watch the behavior. If they start to struggle with it, then they might not be relaxed enough, or they just might not know how to do it. So give them a good few seconds, which is why 30 seconds for down to the count is kind of where you're at. You want to kind of aim for, because if they can do 30 seconds consistently, they have to start breathing and regulating themselves. At the minute, we've been doing live about 10 seconds or so with Spock. So he's still expecting quite a high rate. Once you kind of pass 15, they tend to go, okay, we're in it for the count now. And you start to see a lot more kind of relaxation with them. Does that make sense? Natasha, in-house with outside noise. If I was doing inside with outside noises like this, I would maybe go for down for the count. I might use ping pong. I might use up down. I might vary between them. Because the best thing about all these patterns is they're really flexible and you can adapt them to what you need them to be. And if you're hearing noises, what we're looking for is like their ears twitching or something like that, so they've acknowledged that there's a noise there, and then they can get a reward for it. If your dogs are really noise sensitive, it won't work quite as well because they'll hear the noise, they'll rush. So you need to do a lot more work on that front and helping them stay calm in the active phase to bring them out of it. Whereas with a dog like Frankie, he will be kind of in front of you, and you could maybe do up down. You can maybe do some ping pong for him. That's kind of where I'd start. And once he starts to not be as bothered by the noises anymore, then I would bring in like a settle down for the count type thing. So there's like, okay, now I want you to relax now. If they've got a really good, on the mat settle or foot on lead one where they can really relax, I'll start bringing that into the house as well and just remind them this is also a thing. Does that make sense? What are you doing? You don't know, do you? So, but as you can probably see from Spock, he's listening out for things. So because he knows this is the time where things will happen. So I like to try and keep him focused and give him the things that he can do. So either we'll have cuddles on the sofa, or I'll have my treat jar ready, or a toy ready, and we'll kind of play through it because it's a time that I know that he struggles with. He's not as bad with fireworks. He just really hates the rumbles of the bin as they're going along the cobbles in the back streets. But these sorts of exercises and games just really help him to stay focused and calm, because if he's focusing on me, he's not as focused on the other stuff. So that lets me know that whatever it is outside isn't bothering him too much, because I can still give him a coping skill, which is why I know he's got alert meerkats and not active ones. If we're giving them these coping skills and the animals aren't responding and they're not wanting to eat, then we've got active meerkats, and we need to have generally behavior consultation and get to the bottom of why they're struggling so much in those situations, and they need a lot more work on arousal control. But a lot of the patterns will be similar, but we'll use them in slightly different ways for each of the dogs, depending on their coping strategies. Yeah. So I hope that's made sense for everyone. It's a quick training session of half an hour with me and our dog. That was our alert meerkat. So next week, if you're able, same time, we're going to have a look at calm meerkats. And this is the transition. So this is a little bit more for what you asked before, Catherine, was that transition from alert to calm. Like, how do we get the alert meerkats to calm down a little bit more? And for that, I'm going to use my other dog, Nuffle, because he has a calm meerkat who will sometimes get alert and then we'll go back. So for that one, we'll show a little bit of our down for the count again. And we'll have a look at take a breath, which is one of the best ones to help them to actually calm down. And doing some off switch default behavior stuff with take a breath. So I hope that was okay for everyone. Any questions, like always, feel free to comment in the group. Let me know how you get on. Those of you in our community, send me a message. I'm happy to share any extra tips and things for you all as well. And do try these at home. These are all very safe for everyone to give a go at home. And if you want to post any videos in the group, if you're doing them, I would love to see them. It's always nice for other people to see how they get on as well, because they are really simple, easy things to try. And once you start doing it, the impact it can make in the matter of a month can be huge. So enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone, and I will see you next week. Look, well done, Spock. You've been told you've been a good boy. And he did really well at the vets today using some of our passing games too. So there's a lot of videos somewhere on our social media of him practicing some of these exercises to prepare him for the vet, which is really cool. So we will see you all next week. Bye.